You've wondered for a long time, maybe not out loud, but inside, if there was a moment, a line, a mistake, a silence that finally pushed me away. You've asked yourself in the quiet of your heart if you crossed the point where my patience ended. You felt the weight of all the things you didn't say, didn't do, didn't become. And in that weight, shame began whispering, maybe he's done with me. Maybe he's disappointed. Maybe I went too far this time. Let me speak directly to that fear, to that place in you that still waits for punishment or rejection. There's nothing you could do to lose me. No distance, no decision, no season of silence or rebellion or failure has ever made me love you less. I didn't begin loving you because you were consistent. I didn't choose you because you always got it right. I chose you knowing everything, every valley you'd walk into, every wound you'd carry, every time you'd forget how to come back. And I chose you anyway. You see yourself as a mess sometimes, as someone who should have known better. You replay old conversations, old sins, old moments of doubt and think, how could God still want me after all that? But I want you to know this clearly. I never stopped wanting you. Not even once. I didn't pause my love. I didn't change my mind. I didn't stand back while you broke apart. I stepped closer. You just didn't feel it, because the pain was loud. But I was there. I've always been there. You're not too far. You never were. I don't keep love on a scale, adjusting based on how well you're doing. My love doesn't shrink when you're tired. It doesn't fade when you're angry. It doesn't walk out when you're confused. It holds. It remains. It knows what's underneath every failure, every choice, every silence. And it stays. I stay. There's this belief that creeps in when you've fallen enough times that maybe this time it's different. Maybe you finally pushed me too far. But I want you to know, you are not powerful enough to cancel my love. You're not capable of being so broken that I can't reach you. You cannot disqualify yourself from something you never earned to begin with. My love was never a reward. It was always a gift. And I don't take it back. You may not feel worthy of this right now. That's okay. I'm not asking you to feel anything. I'm asking you to trust what I've already decided. You're still mine, still chosen, still loved. You are not defined by your worst day. You are not trapped in your last failure. You are not the sum of what you regret. You are the one I keep reaching for. The one I whisper to in the night. The one I've waited for, not to punish, but to restore. You haven't disappointed me into distance. You've simply forgotten how close I've stayed. And now I'm reminding you, not with condemnation, but with compassion. I never left. I never will. So take a breath. Let go of the idea that you have to earn your way back. You don't. You're already home. You're already seen. You're already held. There is no penalty waiting for you here. Just open arms. Just steady love. Just the sound of my voice calling you still mine. You've been walking with a quiet weight, one you don't often name, but it lingers behind your eyes. It shows up when you're alone. It speaks when you're still. It says things like, I should have known better by now, or if I had just done it differently, maybe I wouldn't have lost so much. That voice is not truth. That voice is not me. That is the sound of shame pretending to be logic. It dresses itself as maturity or responsibility, but it's rooted in fear. And I want to pull it out, gently but completely, because it's been growing between us for far too long. You've blamed yourself for things I never asked you to carry. You've judged yourself more harshly than I ever would. You've assigned meaning to your pain that I never intended, and you've convinced yourself that your mistakes are the reason you haven't felt me clearly. But I need you to understand, I never used your failure as a reason to step back. I never once said, this is too much. I still know how to build from here. I'm not afraid of your mess. I'm not overwhelmed by what broke. I'm not disappointed in your timeline. You think you've delayed destiny, that you've ruined the story, but what if I told you the story I'm writing still begins right here? Exactly where you are. Not after you clean yourself up, not after you prove you've changed, but now, in this moment, with the rawness of regret still in your chest and the uncertainty of what's next still fogging your thoughts. I'm not waiting for you to impress me. I'm waiting for you to let me come closer. Yes, you made choices that cost you. Yes, there were consequences. I don't deny that. But consequences are not the same as condemnation. Just because something hurt doesn't mean it disqualified you. Just because it left a scar doesn't mean it ended your purpose. I still see potential in the places you tried to bury. I still see light in the parts of you that you thought went dim for good. I know where you've been. I know the nights you wish you could rewrite. I know the words you never said, the ones you did say and wanted to take back. I know the moments you broke trust with others and with yourself. I know the version of you you've been trying to escape, and I'm still here, not tolerating you, loving you, not reluctantly, not conditionally, fully, deeply, still. I'm not distant from your humanity. I stepped into it for a reason. I lived through rejection, betrayal, loss, and loneliness so that you would never have to wonder if I could understand what it feels like to be fractured. I do. And still I say, you are not beyond redemption. You are not too far. You are not unusable. I can build from this. I can begin again. And not with scraps, but with vision. The very parts of your life you've been hiding from me, those are the ones I want to heal, not because I need you polished, but because I want you whole. You don't need to pretend to be fine with me. You don't need to dress up your pain before bringing it to me. Come as you are. Come with the disappointment. Come with the confusion. Come with the anger you don't know what to do with. I can handle all of it. I already have. You keep thinking if I had done better, maybe I wouldn't feel this far away. But I need you to stop trying to measure proximity with perfection. My nearness was never based on your performance. It was based on my promise. I said I would be with you always. I meant it. And just because you lost track of me for a while doesn't mean I stopped walking beside you. Let me rebuild. Let me take the places you've written off as waste and make them sacred. Let me restore what you thought was too far gone. Let me show you that your story isn't over. It's just shifting. You're not being punished. You're being invited. Invited to walk with me. Not as someone who barely made it back, but as someone who was never let go. You are not a mistake I need to manage. You are a masterpiece I'm still shaping. And yes, I still delight in you. Even now. Even here. Even after everything. So breathe. You don't have to earn your way back. You don't have to prove your sincerity. Just say yes. Just let me near. Just drop the weight of the lie that says, this disqualifies me. It doesn't. It never did. I still know how to build from this, and you're still someone I want to build with. You've spent so much time focused on what went wrong, what you lost, where you failed, how far you've wandered, that you stopped seeing what's still alive inside you. You've been replaying the chapters that broke you, holding them up, like proof that maybe you were never really called. Maybe you weren't strong enough. Maybe you misunderstood me, but I see it differently. I haven't been watching the scene where you stopped. I've been watching the seed that never died. Yes, you stopped believing for a while. I know. You stopped expecting anything good to come from your voice, your dreams, your prayers. You stepped back, not because you didn't care, but because something inside you whispered, maybe I got it wrong. Maybe I'm just not that person anymore. But let me tell you this. I still believe in what I planted in you, and I didn't plant it for a season. I planted it for eternity. What I place in you doesn't expire. It doesn't decay because of delay. It doesn't get revoked when you fall down. I'm not shaken by your uncertainty. I'm not threatened by your doubt. You've looked at your reflection and seen inconsistency. I've looked at you and seen endurance. The fact that you're still here, reading these words, hoping maybe it's not too late, that's enough for me to begin again. Because I never stopped believing in you. You stopped defending your heart, and I didn't blame you. You got tired. You took a few hits that you didn't see coming. You trusted the wrong people. You tried your best, and it still didn't turn out the way you prayed. And in all of that, some part of you stopped fighting for yourself. You gave up. Not in a dramatic collapse, but in quiet, small ways. You started letting your fire fade. You started adjusting to survival. But I saw that too. And while you were adjusting, I was protecting the part of you that still burns. You haven't lost it. You've buried it. You buried the parts of yourself that once reached for more, that once believed you were created to make a difference. And I get it. That dream feels risky now. The vision you once held feels fragile. You don't want to be disappointed again. You don't want to hope if it means you might break. But what if I told you the part of you that hopes is the part I still want to resurrect? I'm not asking you to run back into old assignments. I'm not demanding a dramatic restart. I'm simply asking you to look again at what I placed in you, that compassion you carry, that clarity you feel when you're still, that deep sense of purpose that never quite went away, even when you tried to silence it. Those aren't leftovers. They're not broken dreams. They are my fingerprints. What you've walked through didn't destroy the call. It refined it. And what you thought was disconnection was actually me doing deep work in your roots. You thought you had nothing left to give, but I've been slowly filling you again. Quietly, patiently, without pressure. Because I never needed a polished version of you to move. I just needed the real you, the one who still wants to believe. So let's do this gently. Don't force yourself to have all the answers. Don't pretend the fear isn't still there. Just start by admitting that maybe, just maybe, the version of you that once dreamed, that once believed, that once said yes without hesitation, that version still exists. She's just waiting to be invited back. Not by the world, not by the demands of ministry or performance, but by you. You stopped trusting yourself, and that makes sense. But now I'm asking you to trust me again. Not just in general. Trust me with you, with your story, with your scars, with the parts of you that feel inconsistent. Because what I placed in you was never about your strength. It was always about my promise. And my promises don't depend on your perfection. They depend on my faithfulness. I still believe in your voice. I still believe in your capacity to carry truth. I still believe in your ability to love deeply. I still believe in your creative soul, your leadership, your heart for the ones others overlook. I still believe that the world needs what I placed in you, not someday. Now, not after you've proven yourself. Now, it's time to pick it up again. Not the pressure, not the image, but the purpose, the real one. The one I whispered to you when no one else was watching. The one that made your heart burn before life taught you to dim it. You don't have to rush, but you do have to remember. Because I didn't change my mind. And I haven't given up on you. So take a breath. You don't need to have everything figured out. You don't need to know exactly what comes next. Just let me remind you that what I started in you wasn't a mistake, and what I planted still lives. You may have stopped believing for a time, but I didn't. And now it's your turn again. You've been holding this quiet tension, an inner dialogue that says, if I'm going to return, I need to return strong. I need to come back with something to show. I need to fix what I broke before I get close again. That pressure isn't coming from me. That urgency, that shame, that need to get it all right before you're allowed to rest again, it's not mine. It's a lie you've lived under for too long, and I want to free you from it. There is no time limit on your healing, no pace you must match, no spiritual benchmark you need to hit to be in my arms again. I'm not sitting here with a list of what you need to fix. I'm not waiting for your strength to return before I call you back. I'm calling you now, not to impress me, but to trust me, not to perform, but to be real. You don't have to rush back. You don't have to know the way forward. You just have to come honestly, not with the answers, with the ache, not with resolve, with rawness, not with everything cleaned up, but just as you are. I can handle the version of you that isn't sure how to pray anymore. I'm not surprised by your numbness. I'm not distant from your questions. You don't have to fake hunger to be welcomed. I'd rather have your silence in my presence than your eloquence outside of it. So let's begin again, not with momentum, but with truth. Sit with me as you are. Come back to me with the version of yourself you've been afraid I wouldn't accept. Let me see the tension in your chest, the disappointment you can't shake, the dullness you don't know how to explain. Don't hide from me the part of you that thinks, maybe I just don't feel anything anymore. That part belongs here too. I'm not trying to spark you back to life with hype. I'm calling you to rest with me until life finds its own rhythm again. You've been away long enough to believe your absence changed something in me. It didn't. I'm still here, and I don't want the edited version of your return. I want the honest one, the hesitant one, the quiet one, the version that shows up without a script, that doesn't know how to worship yet, but still sits anyway. That doesn't know what to say, but still comes near. That's what moves my heart. Not your eloquence, but your presence. You don't need a spiritual reboot. You need safety. You need space to come back without rushing into activity, without feeling like you have to prove you're okay now. You're allowed to come slowly. You're allowed to just breathe. You're allowed to let me hold the weight of it for a while. And I will. Not because you earned it, but because I love you. I never asked you to sprint back. I asked you to trust me enough to walk again, to take a step, to show up, even if it's messy, even if your heart's not fully in it yet, even if the fire hasn't returned, even if your faith still feels fragile. I don't need you to burn with passion right now. I need you to let me breathe on the embers. I need you to give me access to what's still buried, because even in what looks like numbness, there is life underneath. And I know how to wake it gently. You're not late. You're not behind. You're not less than those who seem to feel me more. You're not disconnected. You're healing. You're remembering. You're relearning the sound of my voice without guilt attached. And I'm patient for that process. I will walk beside you as long as it takes. I will whisper truth until your heart believes again. I will sit in the silence with you, not because I need time, but because I want you to know you don't have to rush to be loved. You're not on trial. You're not under review. You're not being graded on your return. You're being welcomed, genuinely, tenderly, freely. The kind of welcome that doesn't look for posture, but for honesty. The kind that sees your trembling hands and says, you don't have to carry that anymore. Just come sit with me. And when you do, when you finally let the shame fall off, when you let yourself rest without apology, you'll feel it. That I never moved, that I was never distant, that I didn't go quiet because I was disappointed. I went quiet so your spirit would learn to rest again. Not in noise, but in nearness. So no, you don't have to rush. You don't have to come back full of fire. You just have to come back real. That's where everything starts again. Not from performance, but from presence. And presence doesn't require perfection. It just requires you. You thought you lost me. That somehow, in the gaps between your prayers, in the silence between your efforts, in the weight of your mistakes, I had pulled away. That maybe I needed space. That maybe I got tired of waiting for you to come back whole. That maybe I started moving with others and left you behind in the process. But here's the truth. We were never truly disconnected. Not even once. What you felt as distance was not rejection. It was the fog of shame, the weight of guilt, the slow dimming of your own confidence. But it was never me leaving you. I need you to understand something foundational. You don't reconnect with me the way you reconnect with people. You're not dialing a number hoping I'll answer. You're not knocking on a door wondering if I'll open it. My presence doesn't work like that, because I never left. I wasn't gone. I wasn't unavailable. I wasn't holding myself back, waiting for you to qualify again. I was right here, not across some chasm you created. Right here, in the room, in the quiet, in the ache, in the numbness. Still speaking, even if softly. Still present, even if it didn't feel like fire. That's why this doesn't feel like starting over. That's why you're not having to rebuild something from scratch. Because the connection never broke. What shifted was your awareness. What faded was your trust. What got buried under the weight of your self-judgment was the simple truth that I don't leave when you fall. I lean in. I stay close. I don't need you to climb back to me. I already descended to you. And now that you're here again, heart open even if still hesitant, I want to remind you of the truth your soul has known all along. You've always been mine. You didn't lose that. You didn't cancel that. I never stopped calling you by your real name. I never changed my tone toward you. The whisper that's rising in your heart now, that's not a restart. That's remembrance. That's your spirit waking up to what has always been true. You feared I'd be cold when you returned, but what you're finding instead is warmth, familiarity, a peace that doesn't demand a performance. That's because you're not walking back into a place where love has to be earned. You're simply standing still long enough to feel what's never left. This is why the reconnection doesn't feel complicated, because it isn't. I removed the barriers long ago. The veil was torn, not repaired. The distance was destroyed, not managed. And the only thing I need now is your yes, not your perfection, not your plan, just your willingness to let it be this simple. You may still be tempted to overthink it, to wonder if I'm really okay with all that's happened, to ask, but don't you need me to do something to make up for what I missed? I'm not holding a scorecard. I'm not waiting for some grand gesture of repentance. The moment you turned your heart in my direction again, that was enough. That's all it ever takes. One turn, one breath, one moment of presence. That's where communion lives. And I want to build from here, not with a rush of noise, but with rhythm, not with pressure, but with presence. I want you to experience the kind of relationship you were created for, one where you don't second-guess my voice every time things feel quiet, one where you don't assume my love pauses when your consistency falters. I want you to stop assuming silence means absence, to stop thinking that emotion equals connection. I want you to live from truth, not from sensation. Because here's the truth. You're not disconnected now, and you never really were. You just forgot how deeply I remain. You forgot how easy it is to come back, not because the path is short, but because I never stepped away. Now that you remember, everything changes. Not because I changed, but because your heart finally paused long enough to feel how close I've been all along. So don't treat this like a fragile restart. Don't handle this with caution like it might break. You're not building something new. You're simply resuming what never ended. And it's safe now. You don't have to prove anything to stay close. You don't have to perform to stay connected. You're home. You've always been mine. Let the nearness settle in again, not with hype, but with stillness. Let the pressure fall off. Let the rhythm return. You don't need an emotional breakthrough to know I'm near. You don't need the old ways to return in order to trust. This is real. Just breathe. Just stay. Just rest. That's all I've ever asked. You feared you had to rebuild the bridge, but there was never a bridge to begin with. I walked across every gap the moment you turned away, and I stayed right beside you until you were ready to turn back. And now that you have, welcome back, though truly you never left me. You thought this would be the end of the story, coming back, receiving my forgiveness, resting in the safety of my love again. And yes, it's enough. My arms are always enough. But I want you to know that what I'm doing in you isn't just recovery, it's release. I'm not only restoring what was lost, I'm reawakening what was paused. You haven't just been invited back into relationship, you're being invited forward into purpose. The lies that made you believe you were disqualified never came from me. And now that you've stopped agreeing with them, now that the weight of guilt has been replaced with clarity and peace, I want to show you what's next. Not pressure, not striving, but movement. Not the same as before, but truer, cleaner, lighter. This time, you're not moving to prove anything. You're not walking to earn acceptance. You're stepping forward from a place of belovedness. And that makes all the difference. I'm not asking for your effort. I'm asking for your willingness, your yes, the quiet one, the present one, the one that comes from trust, not fear. I'm not sending you back into cycles. I'm sending you forward into alignment, into work that's real, into places where your presence alone brings peace, not because you perform, but because you remain rooted. What I'm doing in you now will not exhaust you. It won't demand more than you have to give. You're not going back to being useful. You're moving into being available for me, for truth, for what's aligned with who you really are. No more roles you wore to feel worthy. No more yeses you gave to avoid abandonment. No more confusing overcommitment with obedience. I'm giving you new clarity, new permission to walk in rooms you used to shrink in, to speak with authority you didn't believe you carried, to love without disappearing, to lead without proving, to rest without apologizing. This is what my restoration makes possible, not just internal healing, but outward purpose that flows from peace, not pressure. You no longer carry the weight of needing to earn your seat. You are seated. You no longer hustle for connection. You are held. You no longer wait for permission. You've been commissioned. And it won't feel like it did before, when striving dressed itself up as calling, when spiritual performance was rewarded but never sustainable. This time, your steps will come from overflow, not emptiness, from peace, not from panic. You're no longer trying to be useful. You are already valuable. And from that value, your life will begin to echo something different. You'll move from discernment. You'll serve without depletion. You'll respond with a rhythm that honors your limits, honors your design, honors the voice you now recognize as your own and mine. I'm not asking you to say yes to everything. I'm asking you to say yes to the right things, the assignments that match your pace, the people who honor your presence, the spaces where your sensitivity isn't a liability, but a gift. I'll show you what that looks like. I'll guide you into it slowly, gently. You're not behind. You're not late. You're right on time for what I'm doing now. You're not being sent back as someone trying to make up for lost time. You're being sent forward as someone who finally understands what matters, as someone who knows how to carry peace, as someone who doesn't need to fill every silence, as someone who knows that stillness is not passivity, it's power. The kind of power that holds steady when others unravel, the kind that walks into chaos and doesn't panic, the kind that knows how to wait, how to listen, how to act when the time is right, and not before. This is what I've been forming in you. Quiet strength, clear vision, steady feet, a heart that knows it belongs and doesn't flinch when the world forgets. That's who you are now. Not because you've mastered the path, but because you've finally let me walk it with you. And now we move together. No more striving to catch up. Just step-by-step trust. So don't be afraid when I begin to open doors again. Don't second-guess yourself when you feel my nudge. You're ready, not because you're flawless, but because you're aligned. Ready doesn't mean fearless, it means willing. And you are. I see it. I feel it. You're not running anymore. You're present, you're grounded, you're available. And from here forward, that's all I ask. You won't need to convince anyone that you've changed. Your presence will say enough. Your boundaries will speak. Your pace will reveal what's different. And it will be unmistakable. You've been restored not just to rest, but to purpose. And I'm sending you, not for them to approve you, not to relive the past, but to carry what only you can carry now. Because you've come back full, and you're ready to go forward free. I know what you're afraid of, even now after everything we've rebuilt. You're wondering if this will last, if this peace will stay, if this clarity is just another passing moment before you find yourself tired again, disconnected again, doubting again. You've been here before, feeling whole, feeling close to me, feeling like things were finally different, only to watch yourself slide back into exhaustion, into silence, into wondering what happened. That's why I want to tell you something very clearly. This time, you won't have to strive to stay. You're not here because you fought your way back. You're here because you finally stopped fighting, because you finally stopped believing the lie that your proximity to me depends on your performance, because you finally let go of the idea that spiritual consistency is only for people who never fall apart. You are here now because you surrendered, not because you achieved. And what's born from surrender doesn't need to be maintained by striving. It's kept by my presence, not your perfection. This time is different. Not because you are stronger, but because you are softer. Not because you've become more disciplined, but because you've become more honest. Not because you're doing everything right, but because you've let me be enough, even when you feel like you aren't. That's what's going to make this last. You've laid down the weight of trying to hold yourself together for my sake, and now you'll begin to see what it's like to walk with me, not as someone constantly trying to keep up, but as someone who knows how to remain, who understands that remaining doesn't mean never stumbling. It means refusing to run when you do. You won't live from reaction anymore. You won't need emotional highs to sustain your belief. You've learned how to recognize my nearness in the quiet, in the mundane, in the simple rhythm of daily presence. That's what I've been building. A relationship that doesn't rise and fall with how inspired you feel, but that stays steady because I stay steady. You don't have to cling to me in desperation. I'm already holding you. That means your peace isn't fragile, it's rooted. You don't need to protect it with control. You just need to protect your rhythm, the one we've built together, the one that honors rest, the one that honors pauses, the one that makes space for me without guilt or pressure. You now know how to return when you feel off. You know how to pause before spiraling. You know how to rest without believing rest equals failure. That's growth. That's maturity. That's a rhythm that can hold you for a lifetime. And when life presses in again, and it will, you'll feel the difference. The old voice that used to say, "You're slipping," will come. But this time, you'll have something to answer with. I'm not slipping. I'm anchored. Not in feelings, not in outcomes, in me and truth. In a connection that isn't sustained by emotional intensity, but by faithfulness. And faithfulness doesn't always feel exciting. It feels consistent, safe, steady. You've stopped looking for fireworks. You've started trusting the flame. And that flame, even if quiet, will not go out. Not this time. So let's walk slowly. Let's not rush to define this season as a return to what once was. Let it be new. Let it be simpler. Let it be lighter than what you've known before. You're not being measured. You're being loved. You're not being tested. You're being trusted. You're not under scrutiny. You're under grace. And grace will sustain what it began. You'll still have days where you forget. You'll still feel tired. You'll still wrestle with doubt. But the difference now is you won't walk away because of it. You'll remain. You'll reach. You'll rest. You'll return. Not in shame, but in rhythm. That's what keeps you grounded now. You know the way back. And more importantly, you know you never left. So stay soft, stay close, stay present. Don't look ahead in fear. Don't live waiting for collapse. I'm not fragile in you, and you're not fragile in me. You are held. You are kept. And I'm committed to staying. This time, you won't need to perform consistency. You'll simply live it. Because it's who you are now, and who you are is mine. Everything I've done in you wasn't just to help you feel loved again. It was to awaken the truth that you were never meant to carry love like a borrowed cloak. You were meant to become it, not in theory, but in form. Not as something you visit in emotional moments, but as something you embody even on your quietest days. You're not someone trying to get close to me anymore. You're someone who finally knows I'm already within you. And because of that, your life now reflects what used to feel out of reach. You don't have to force joy. You don't have to fake peace. You don't have to convince yourself you're forgiven. You already know. You already feel it. It's in how you walk now. It's in how you breathe. It's in the way you speak with gentleness, even when no one is watching. This isn't about acting like someone who's whole. This is about realizing you are. You're not holding on to my love like a lifeline anymore. You are the love I've given. It runs through your thoughts. It governs your choices. It's in the way you see yourself. It's in the way you see others. And no, it's not because you've mastered the spiritual life. It's because you finally let the truth stay long enough to become your foundation. What once felt too good to be true is now the ground beneath your feet. You're not performing love anymore. You're living from it. You used to wonder how long it would take for me to pull away. You used to watch yourself, afraid that one wrong move would make the peace disappear. You waited for my love to fade like human affection sometimes does. But now you've seen the truth. My love didn't waver when you did. It didn't vanish when you grew cold. It didn't ask for your strength. It carried you when you had none. And now that you've let it carry you, it lives in you. Not just for you, but for the world I'm sending you into. You're no longer trying to reflect me through effort. You reflect me because you've spent enough time with me to start looking like me. And that reflection, it's what others will notice. Not your performance. Your presence, not your knowledge, your kindness. Not your perfection, your peace. You're now the kind of person who doesn't need to speak first to be heard, who doesn't need to prove worth to be honored, who doesn't enter rooms with weighty declarations, but with a stillness that holds the room. That's what love does when it becomes who you are. It steadies, it anchors, it welcomes. You are becoming the answer to the question others are too afraid to ask. Is there really a love that doesn't leave? And your life will say, yes, I'm living in it, and it's still holding me. So go lightly, go freely. Go without the burden of trying to get it right every day. That's not the life I'm calling you into. I'm calling you into overflow, into rhythm, into truth that shows up in small ways. Eye contact that sees, words that heal, decisions that honor your heart and mind. That's how my love will move through you now, quietly, powerfully, without needing to prove itself. You'll still have moments where you forget, But even then, you'll return quicker. You'll notice the misalignment before it becomes a spiral. You'll feel the nudge, not as a threat, but as an invitation. Come back to love, come back to me, come back to you. That's the fruit of everything we've rebuilt. You no longer need intensity to stay connected. You just need truth. And truth now lives in you. So breathe. Stay open. Don't look back to see if you're still forgiven. You are. Don't study yourself to see if you're still welcome. You are. Don't hold your breath wondering if this peace will last. It will. Not because you'll always feel it, but because you'll always be held by it. It doesn't come and go. It remains. And now you do too. You remain in love, not trying to keep it, becoming it. So let your life reflect what I've spoken. Let your tone sound like grace. Let your time reflect what you value now. Let your silence be sacred. Let your actions say what your words can't. Let your very presence echo. I was never disqualified. I was never left. I was never unloved. I just forgot. But now I remember. And that remembrance, it's powerful. Because people don't need more information. They need evidence. They need someone who has been held when they felt lost. Someone who has been forgiven and now forgives. Someone who has stopped striving and finally started living. That someone is you. You're not carrying my love anymore. You are what it looks like when love stays. And everywhere you go, it will go with you. You don't have to prove anything anymore, not to me, not to anyone else, not even to yourself. What I've done in you wasn't meant to make you more impressive. It was meant to make you more whole. And now, from that wholeness, I'm asking you to walk again. Not as someone trying to justify their return, not as someone who owes the world an explanation, but as someone who is finally free to live, simply because she is loved. You're not being sent to fix things. You're not being asked to make up for the time you think you lost. You're not under pressure to redeem every old failure with new results. I'm not placing a mission on your back to carry alone. I'm placing a rhythm in your spirit that will guide you naturally. It won't feel like burden. It will feel like peace. It will feel like alignment, like flow, like home. There will be days you wonder, am I doing enough? And to that I'll say, are you moving in love? Then yes. There will be moments you ask, shouldn't I be more visible, more productive? And I'll answer, you're not here for performance. You're here for presence. Because what I'm building through you now doesn't rely on speed or spectacle. It relies on truth, on intimacy, on quiet consistency. I know that's different than what you've been taught. I know the world applauds the busy, the loud, the polished. But I'm not calling you to impress them. I'm calling you to remain in me. And when you do, everything you touch will carry that fragrance. Every word will hold that peace. Every decision will reflect that love. That's impact. That's what changes people. That's what lasts. So yes, I'm sending you, but this time, the sending won't come with pressure. It will come with presence. You'll move because you're full, not because you're empty and needing to prove you're strong again. You'll speak because you're steady, not because you need to be heard. You'll serve because you're whole, not because you feel obligated. This time, your life will echo freedom, not performance. Peace, not striving. Stillness, not self-doubt. And when old voices return, when guilt tries to whisper that you need to do more, be more, give more to be worthy, you'll recognize it. You'll feel the shift in your body, your breath, your spirit. And you'll pause, you'll remember, I've already been chosen. I've already been restored. I don't move to earn. I move because I'm already loved. That's the power of this moment. You are no longer a servant trying to earn your place. You are a daughter, already seated, already held, already trusted. And when daughters walk, they walk with their heads lifted. Not in arrogance, but in assurance. They walk with clarity, with softness, with joy, not because the road is easy, but because the one who called them is faithful. So take your time. There's no race here. There's no countdown clock on your life. There is no divine disappointment waiting if you don't do everything perfectly. Just stay in rhythm. Stay with me. Let love be your pace. Let peace be your signal. Let clarity, not pressure, lead the way. You'll feel it. When it's time to say yes, when it's time to rest, when it's time to speak, and when it's time to remain silent, you won't need to guess. Because you've spent time in the quiet long enough to know how my voice feels in your chest now. You've learned the difference between guilt and conviction, between demand and direction, between performance and presence. Now you live from presence, and that presence will lead you into rooms, into relationships, into decisions, not because you're trying to be useful, but because you are already deeply loved, and people will feel that, even when they don't know how to name it. They'll feel the weight you no longer carry. They'll feel the freedom in your yes, the calm in your no, the grace in your eyes. You'll begin to realize this is the life I always wanted for you, one where you don't question your belonging, one where you don't tie your value to your outcome, one where you don't second guess whether you're too much or not enough. One where you wake up and walk out the door knowing, I don't have to prove I belong in this world. I was placed here in love, and that's enough. So go, not for applause, not to be seen, not to make a name, but because you are already known, already loved, already filled. Go, not because you've been told to perform. Go because you've been loved back to life, and now you're ready to live it. From the very beginning, this was never about you finding the perfect way back. It was never about proving your devotion, repairing your track record, or rewriting every part of your story. This was about me reminding you of something that never stopped being true. You were never beyond my reach, and there has never been a moment where you were unloved. You questioned it, I know. You lived in the space between guilt and hope, wondering if maybe this time you had wandered too far, that perhaps my silence meant my love had faded, that maybe your inconsistency meant my presence had lifted. But now you see it. Now you know. My love was not attached to your progress. It was anchored in who I am, and I do not change. I stayed. When you turned your face away in shame, I stayed. When your voice went quiet and your prayers disappeared, I stayed. When you believed you no longer belonged in my presence, I remained in yours. You didn't come back to find me. I never left. You didn't have to rebuild anything. I've been holding the structure the whole time. And now that you're finally standing in this space again, not afraid, not running, not performing, you can feel what's been true all along. You are mine. And you always were. This is where we walk from now on, not in fear of separation, but in the security of union, not looking over your shoulder, afraid I'll change my mind, not doubting your place in my arms. You don't have to rehearse how to be loved. You just are. Fully, constantly, eternally. And that love is no longer something you cling to like a lifeline. It's something you live from. It's not a reward you're trying to keep. It's your birthright. And because you finally believe it, you no longer need to strive to stay close. You know, we are one. I in you, and you in me. Not as theory, as truth, as rhythm, as reality. I will walk with you now in every space you feared to return to. Not as someone watching from a distance, but as the one within you, guiding, anchoring, whispering when the world gets loud again. I'll remind you when the old thoughts try to come back. I'll steady you when your mind forgets that this piece is yours to keep. And I'll hold you when the day feels too heavy and the silence feels too deep. But now you know, silence is not absence. Delays are not rejection. And nothing, not failure, not fear, not confusion, not collapse, can undo what I've spoken over you. You carry my name now, not with trembling, but with trust. You walk, not hoping I'll stay, but knowing I never left. And even when the future feels unclear, the foundation beneath you will hold, because it's not made of your promises. It's made of mine. And mine are unbreakable. So live. Boldly, freely, quietly, or loudly, it doesn't matter. Live in the fullness of one who has nothing left to earn, nothing left to prove. Let your steps reflect this truth. I'm loved, and that cannot be undone. And when others wonder, when they ask, when they watch your life and feel the weight of your steadiness, you'll be able to say, without fear, without hesitation, he never let go. Even when I did, even when I forgot, even when I left, he stayed. And now I know there's truly nothing I could ever do to lose him. That's what I've wanted all along. Not just that you'd hear it, but that you'd believe it. Not just that you'd come home, but that you'd stop wondering if you were welcome. You are. You always were. And now, you finally know it. So let's walk, not back. Forward, not rushed, not anxious, just together. Because this is what love looks like when it doesn't let go. This is what grace feels like when it doesn't expire. This is what home becomes when it was never taken away. And you are the one I never stopped loving. You're not returning to me. You're remembering we never stopped walking. Amen. Before you go, breathe in this truth one more time. I never left you, and I never will. Not on your best day, not in your darkest hour, not when you feel strong, and not when you feel nothing at all. My love for you has never depended on what you did. It has always depended on who I am. So stay close, not because you're afraid to lose me, but because now you know you never could. Subscribe, not to follow content, but to remain near to the voice that's been calling you home all along. Let these words keep reminding you, you're still mine. You've always been mine, and nothing will ever change that. Return whenever your soul forgets. I'll still be here, because there's nothing you could do to lose me, and now, you know that too.